Greetings, cinephiles. Are you looking for a movie analysis podcast that stands above the rest? Then look no further than Collateral Cinema, the only movie podcast that matters.
We analyze good movies, we analyze bad movies, and yes, we also analyze the in-betweens of the world of cinema.
So if you like what you hear, find us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter.
And listen to us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, and wherever you get your podcasts.
And yes, my friends, we are 420 friendly. So when you listen to us, smoke it if you've got it. And now, here's a new episode of Collateral Gaming. The show starts right now.
I'm Ashley Chancellor.
And I'm Zachary Gio.
And this is Collateral Gaming. Welcome to Collateral Gaming, the only video game podcast that matters, where we focus on good games, bad games, and everything else in between in the world of gaming. We are podcasting straight from the United States, and yes, my friends, we are a 420 friendly podcast, so whatever you have, smoke it if you've got it.
Hell yeah, brother.
Hell yeah. Zach, I'm so stoked to finally talk this game with you.
Oh yeah, dude. As soon as it came out, we were kind of going stir crazy. I think you got to play it a couple of hours before I did.
I think so, but you beat it well before I did. You 100%ed it and platinumed it before I did.
Platinum did in like 6 days, dude. It's crazy.
I had Robert over, so I was trying not to hog the TV the whole time and do nothing but play Spider-Man 2. Otherwise, yeah, I would have been right there with everybody else, platinuming it in like a week or less.
Yeah, it was hard to stop once you got started.
Yes,
honestly,
100%. But I will say I did get through it fairly quickly. I think no more than a month, if that, probably a few weeks before and I think I've only played this game for, I think it was like 14 hours before I did pretty much everything there is to do, or 18 hours, I think. 18 hours, I think, is what it took me to 100% and platinum this game.
Yeah, absolutely. I think altogether it took me like 27 hours. But from the time it came out on October 20th and the time I actually got home from work, because I couldn't play it once I got home from work, or I couldn't play it until I got home from work, sorry. I just played nonstop when I got home. And, my wife, because she's my wife now, which is crazy. My wife actually sat there and watched me play through the entire game. So it was a journey. It was definitely something that was very enjoyable. I'm kind of sad that it didn't last a little bit longer, but honestly, that's kind of my fault because I just kind of barreled through it. And I know you guys did your first impressions, you and Robert recorded, but the game was just incredible to me. I loved every second of it. My opinion of the game hasn't dwindled, and it's been over a month, almost 2 months now since its release. I loved every second of it.
That's a good point. You do flip on games quite a bit, and you're still in love with this game, so that says something.
Absolutely. Just the level of quality and detail that Insomniac put into this game, as well as, there are some video game companies that make you wait like a really long time for games that shouldn't necessarily have that kind of waiting period. Like Tears of the Kingdom, I don't think should have. I seriously don't think it should have had a 6-year waiting period, not for what we had. But Insomniac gave us basically a brand new way to play the game. They gave us a brand new, beautifully crafted story. They gave us 2 whole new areas. Well, I'm actually describing Tears of the Kingdom because they gave us 2 brand new areas to explore as well. As well as just more features, more movement, more actions. It was well worth the wait, and I'm very glad that I got to experience it.
Hell yeah, brother. I mean, I'm going to say, in terms of gameplay, like combat, stealth, general gameplay, and I said this in part 1, It does play it a little safe. There's nothing like groundbreaking or innovative, but I'm going to say the same thing I said about God of War Ragnarok, which was the same way. While it may not be adding a whole lot to the core gameplay, it doesn't need to. When the last one was so good, it's only been a few years. So what you really want out of a sequel, out of a first sequel to something, is more of the same thing and just a little bit better. And Spider-Man 2 delivers on that. And I think it does manage to be better than its predecessors. I think the chief gimmick, of course, is the fact that you get to play as both Spider-Man, as both Spider-Men, as both Peter and Miles. Something we did talk about in the previous episode. But, I mean, for you, Zach, how did you feel the balance was between these characters? And how fun was it for you to play each?
All right. So, out of all honesty, I think the balance between the two of them was a little bit more leaning towards Miles. It was really fun playing as both characters, but I think they kind of made Miles a little overpowered just because I guess they were kind of getting ready to hand the reins to him as the main Spider. But it didn't detract away, or it didn't take away from my enjoyment of the game. Playing as Peter, Peter's still extremely intelligent. And the way he fights, you can tell that he uses every single inch of his brain to take care of his problems. And Miles is still a little bit young. He's much more experienced because at this point in the story, we've gotten, his experiences in Miles Morales and everything that happened with Finn. But realistically, I think that the game just kind of made him dominant, So I enjoyed both, but I think Miles was the focus of the story for me.
Yeah, okay. That's very valid. I think that I'm going to agree with you as far as like combat goes and stealth, to be honest. I mean,
yep.
In both areas, Miles is just significantly better especially once you unlock the late game abilities like the Mega Venom Blast, recharging your abilities and instantly replenishing 3 finisher bars. That just kills it. Like,
that's OP as fuck, dude. It's OP as shit.
Because basically, you have like 3 finishers. Use all of your abilities. Mega Blast, which is enough to kill most small groups of enemies by itself. And then you have 3 more finishers. You've essentially got 6 finishers and rotate through, 4 to 8 abilities. And, it's fucking crazy. And once you've unlocked every upgrade, but both Spider-Men end up feeling overpowered as fuck. Just Miles, even more so. And also Miles has the edge with, having the camouflage abilities. I really thought that, I know I said this in part 1, and I know I've said this to you before, but I really thought that they'd give Peter a cloaking tech. Like, I feel like they were teasing it with, like, in the first game he had cloaking tech. Kraven's Hunters had cloaking tech. I was like, oh, so maybe Peter can, like, build his own version of the camouflage, but...
I was kind of hanging on to the idea that they were going to kind of create a balance between both characters. Like, Miles has cloaking, but Pete has... like just sheer technology or smarts, Miles has bioelectricity, Pete has, I was thinking that they were going to do hand in hand, like each character has their own specific type of thing. But realistically, like Miles was just overpowered as shit. And it was fun playing as him, but after a while it kind of felt one-sided. Like I was focused on I enjoyed playing as Miles more because he's meant in the game to be the stronger Spider. So I was thinking that they were going to balance the two, which it didn't take away my enjoyment of the game, but I thought that they would balance the two characters out a lot better.
Well, and I think that's strictly for me. That's in regard to just how powerful Miles in combat, especially with it's really just a few almost broken abilities. But as far as like the skill trees go, the focus the story had on each character, I did feel like they did a good job balancing both of them. And I did feel like neither Spider-Man was more or less important. It was whenever you get to, I think, kind of the late game where you really get some of those game-breaking abilities, and Miles just shines up and above, on top of having the stealth advantage, obviously. But either way, I mean, I know they're setting Miles up as the new Spider-Man of this universe, as the primary Spider-Man from this universe moving on. And in this episode, we can actually get into the spoilers in that and what the implications of that are, because I think one of the big plot points that Peter is going through actually throughout the story is essentially realizing that it might be time to retire. I mean, he did this thing solo for 8 years. Does New York need 2 Spider-Men full time?
Yeah, at this point in the Spider-Man timeline of this timeline, he's been Spider-Man for 10 years at this point, because it's been 2 years since the events of Devil's Breath and all of that stuff, May's death and all that. I think it's been 2 years. Has it been 2 years?
I think so, but he was 8 years by himself, 2 years with Miles, and it's been, yeah. I think you're right. But yeah, I mean, and that's one of the questions that Peter raises, especially whenever Harry invites him as the co-founder of the Emily May Foundation.
Yeah. I think that was a really, really cool addition to the game, showing like Harry basically coming in clutch for Pete, like giving him a way to kind of hang up the cowl, so to speak. But yeah, you're right. When they kind of introduced the Emily May Foundation, my first thought process was Pete's going to retire, or something's going to happen to where either something bad's going to happen with Harry, which I feel like we kind of already knew that going into this game, but that's for later on in the discussion, or, Pete's finally going to have a career that he can rest his head on. And it was kind of a little bit of both, if we're being honest. But it definitely threw me for a loop. I was very surprised with where the story went.
Yeah,
they did a good job with that, because sometimes games like that kind of follow a very predictable path, and this game did a very good job of taking you by surprise. Even though you kind of went into it with certain expectations, it kind of threw you for a loop. And
it did at
the
times.
addition, yeah, and the addition of a specific character that I'm sure we will talk about just went crazy, bro. I thought that he was going to be a very minimal character.
Just tell me who you're talking about, because I don't.
Dude, bro, Kraven.
Kraven, yeah.
The addition of Kraven in this game is insane. Like his whole stance is he's dying, bro.
Yeah.
And he comes to New York because he wants to be hunted.
It's
to
Kraven's
death.
last hunt. That's the storyline they're
It's
adapting.
the final hunt.
Yeah.
It's insane, man, and I thoroughly enjoyed every single bit of it.
Yeah, that actually is a comic book storyline, the whole like Kraven's dying thing, and he wants like somebody to finish him off. That's Kraven's
Absolutely.
last hunt, which is really cool to see that it get adapted. I mean, this ahead of the Aaron Taylor Johnson performance, and I don't know. I feel like I kind of feel bad for that almost, because it has to compete with this.
I'm gonna be honest, man. I don't think I'm realistically looking forward to that movie. I hope I'm pleasantly surprised, but it looks like it's going to be absolute ass. At the very least, like, they can't really cast Tom Hardy as Kraven, because they've already cast him as Venom, at least in the Sony verse. But I mean, come on, dude.
It would have been a better
Kraven.
fit. The Aaron Taylor Johnson's not a big guy. Like that's what's weird. Like, Kraven's supposed to be this big, hulking figure, and he is in this game from the moment of his introduction, which was one of the gameplay clips they showed early on of this game, but it's where he's hunting one of his hunters, I think.
I think he's just hunting, like, not an adversary, but an acquaintance that thinks he can challenge Kraven. And
I think it's one of his hunters that challenged him, because some of the hunters talk about doing that. And so like he's taking him on, and it's either you win or you don't, and he didn't.
He did. He most certainly did not. What was his name? Sergey?
I think it was. Unless
Sergey?
Yeah, I wouldn't remember. In this game, they made Kraven the brother of the Chameleon, which was interesting.
Yeah, which I don't know too much about that storyline, if I'm being honest, but I thought that was
that's in the
cool
comics as well.
Story.
I just looked it up.
Cool.
Okay.
I thought it was a cool little touch-up story. For those listening, I'm actually playing the new Call of Duty while we're talking, and it's cool because playing Call of Duty actually fuels my conversational abilities. My wife doesn't agree, but we've never done a podcast while I'm playing a game. So
Kraven is actually Sergey.
Craven is Sergey.
Craven is Sergey. I don't remember what the other dude's name is. I think they name dropped him and then fucked out of there. But yeah, from the moment Craven comes onto the scene, he is just an absolute threat. More than anything than that Spider-Man has faced before, that either Spider-Man has faced before. I mean, this is a guy that took down 4 Spider-Man villains off screen, 3 off screen and 1 on screen.
Oh yeah, dude, he literally broke off Scorpion's tail and killed him with it. Like, that's one of the most intense things I've ever seen. That the whole storyline of Craven just introducing himself to New York was beyond me, because I loved the whole idea of him taking like the most difficult villains that Peter Parker has faced and just owning them with ease.
For real. And it's interesting the way that he does it is it's not just like a brute strength kind of thing. No, Craven actually researches his victims. He exploits their weaknesses. He learns everything there is to know about them and finds ways in order to hunt. I mean, this is going to be, even though he wants to be killed and that's his goal, he wants it to be fair. He wants it with all of the knowledge and experience that he's had.
Yep.
And all of his full power. You know, he wants
to genuinely lose. He wants to take an L, but give his all. He wants somebody to be better than him, and that's what he wants in his final hunt. He wants to find somebody that can essentially carry on his legacy.
Yes.
Even if it's not with the same malicious intent, he wants to be just absolutely bested by somebody, because I guess he's gotten bored with his life. They never really explain why, other than the fact that he's dying and he wants to have like a memorable hunt. I guess that's one very, very tiny gripe that I have with the story. They never really explain why exactly Craven wants to be bested.
Yeah,
you know?
I imagine that part of Craven's psychology has been explored. I mean, I know that he and his hunters are just crazy about the idea of the hunt, the challenge in and of itself.
Oh yeah,
and so
wouldn't you be if you were part of that group? That'd be insane.
But it's like that dude that you encounter in Skyrim who asks you to fight him in battle, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
Although he's not a challenge.
Well, I haven't gotten to that part yet, but that's not a spoiler because that game's been out for like 2,500 years.
Well, that and I've played like, I don't know, 20 hours, if that, of the game total, and that's at the very beginning, I think, that you can come across that character. But anyway,
because I haven't yet.
Yeah, you must. I don't know. It must have missed it, or maybe you know.
Maybe I'm just bad at video games. Maybe that's the answer.
I don't think that's the answer. I've seen you game, bro. I've gamed with you. But
I mean, first person shooters don't really count.
But I do, because first person shooters are hard as shit to me still.
I mean, for me, like, I got used to the whole aspect of using a mouse and keyboard, so it's just point and click at this point. So, but regardless, you know, I think Craven is a very, very interesting character simply because he is a behemoth of a human being. Like, I wonder if he like had took drugs or anything like that. If there was any sort of like unnatural way for him to gain his strength. What do you think about that? Because it doesn't seem to me like he has any sort of like performance enhancing drug or anything like that. It just seems like he's all natural, and he was literally able to just single-handedly kill.
No, there's a serum
4?
in the game, and I
just
replayed it, so I remember. There's a serum that you find in his apartment. Well, Peter isn't really sure what it is. He was like, "Is this a potion? Is this what gives Craven his strength?" And you know, I think it just kind of leaves it off after that. So, I guess in some ways the game was just kind of hoping that its audience might be at least a little familiar with Craven's story and who he is as a character. I'm very, very very, very basic information. I mean, I saw him in Spectacular Spider-Man and shit, but I don't know a whole lot about the Craven character. Even so, I didn't feel too lost, if anything. It just, you know, it does seem like a missed opportunity. I see what you mean, to not delve into more of his backstory. You know, you're kind of like, his first story is his last hunt in this case. And
yeah, I think it'd be cool if Insomniac gave us a DLC to explore his past a little bit. Just because, I mean, for him to die at the hands of, Harry Osborn in the symbiote, that's a pretty gruesome way to go out. And honestly, there's no other villain that could have taken him out with the way he was in this game. And it was incredible to bear witness to. So I'd like some backstory on him. I think Insomniac could give us a pretty kick-ass DLC for that.
Yeah.
What do you think?
I'd be down for it. I'd be down to explore more of Kraven's backstory that way. That would be perfect. Or maybe there'll be a tie-in comic or something. I'd like to see a little bit more because the character is dead. We're not going to see him in the next game in Spider-Man 3. His head got bitten off by Venom.
Yes, it did. That shit was crazy, bro.
What's funny is when Peter and Miles encounter Kraven early in the game, they're just no match. Even Peter at, full power is just, almost powerless against Kraven. Harry struggles with him when he gets the symbiote suit. But then, Peter...
Oh, dude, that's one of my favorite sequences of lines in the game when Harry's like, I'll kill you. And he's like, do it then. It's just so good, bro. Oh.
More on that later, by the way, about Harry being Venom.
Oh, yeah.
But,
absolutely.
With Kraven anyway... the Peter gets the symbiote suit, and that's actually when the symbiote suit gets onto Peter, that's when Kraven realizes that this is it. This is the one that's going to take me out. And up to this point, he had actually ignored Spider-Man, which was interesting because he goes after Spider-Man's villains who Spider-Man has beaten, but evidently has no interest in Spider-Man himself. I was kind of... it might have been because he knew that Spider-Man doesn't kill. So...
maybe. That's actually a really good thought process. He just maybe respected Spider-Man too and just didn't want to get involved. But also, when he does finally get involved, Kraven he legitimately kills Peter. And one of the things that he says that sticks out to me, he goes, not as venomous as they say.
Yeah.
Which leads me to believe that Kraven has studied Pete and he has taken an interest in the possibility that Pete could be the one, but ultimately came to the conclusion that it just wasn't meant to be.
Yeah. I think you're right. And I think it's one of those things that's maybe he might have even been kind of like, hey, I'm going after your villains. Try me, bro. I wonder if maybe there wasn't sort of kind of like a lure idea there to try to see if Spider-Man would become, the power that he needs to. And then he gets the suit and he does actually. And that's when Kraven, shifts tactics. I think from before that point, he was focusing on the lizard actually. But when we get the symbiote suit, it's symbiote Peter. And that's a version of Spider-Man that might actually kill. In fact, he almost does. He does best Kraven. And if not for Miles kicking his ass back straight, Peter would have done that. So,
yep, absolutely.
To be fair,
all you could hear towards the end of that fight was kill. The symbiote was just consuming Peter. And I think that Insomniac also just does an amazing job of just bringing that symbiote personality in Pete to life. And honestly, Yuri Lowenthal was robbed at the Game Awards, bro. He definitely deserved that voice actor award. I'll stand by that.
No. How did Spider-Man win actually no awards? At least Yuri should have won Best Performance for the symbiote arc because I haven't seen it done better yet. I'll
be honest, man. I don't think that there was just enough for Spider-Man 2 to take it. It was a very, very short game. I think if they had added a couple more hours to the story or some more dialogue, then Yuri would have taken it because his performance as Peter Parker was just unmatched. I never played Baldur's Gate 3. I took a look at it and I just had no interest in that kind of turn-based RPG genre type thing. And I could be wrong about the gameplay. I just took no interest in it. But there was so much content in that game, and the voice actor apparently put in just as much effort, if not more, than Yuri, and he definitely deserved it. Baldur's Gate 3 definitely deserved Game of the Year. I'm just a Spider-Man and Legend of Zelda fanboy, although you know where I stand on Tears of the Kingdom, so I'm not surprised that it didn't win Game of the Year.
It did win Best Action Adventure. I think it's appropriate that Zelda at least won one award. It's a new mainline Zelda. For me,
Well-
Zelda would have been my game of the year. Actually, I think the only thing holding Spider-Man 2 back was the fact that it's so short. And when we get into the final thoughts, I think I'll have a lot more to say about that. But I didn't expect it to win game of the year. I did expect it to win something though. That's actually what blew my mind.
I couldn't actually hold a genuine expectation because I wanted Zelda to be my game of the year, but it was just too Breath of the Wildy for me to really hold on to that hope. I enjoyed it playing through it the first time, but until I get a new computer, I won't play through it again because I'll emulate the game, and we'll probably do a let's play on this, Ash. But I probably won't play the game again until I can emulate it in 4K, like 2140p or like 120 FPS.
Nintendo fans doing what Nintendo won't.
Exactly, bro. Well, the thing is, I think this new console, and we're getting a little bit off track here, but I mean, Spider-Man 2 is short, so our discussion about it can also be. But but I think Nintendo is doing the right thing with finally giving us a console with decent power. Like we're looking at like low-end PS5 power for this new console, and that's exciting. So,
100%.
So continue about Spider-Man 2. I apologize.
I think I was
It should have won something.
I think I was still on I think I was still on the Craven, and then we got on a tangent about Peter and the symbiote stuff, and I really want to talk about that because that's some really good stuff. I mean, this is where Peter actually comes in, and when he meets Craven for the second time, it's a very different it's a very different experience. But Craven does notice the one weakness that the symbiote has, which is sound, during that meeting. So, but even with that advantage, Peter bests him, is ready to kill him actually, because the voices in the suit are talking to him, and then Miles comes in and, like we predicted, kicks his ass, makes him straight. And that's an awesome moment.
It is.
And also, mind you, Miles was able to best Peter in the symbiote suit. So now he had some advantages, and he also had, and at the end of the day, I don't think he was actually quite able to beat him with raw physical strength. I think he had to appeal to his emotional side, but you could see that both Spider-Men were at least equally matched during that fight. It's incredible. And
absolutely,
to go further, Miles would have had to have been ready to kill Peter, and that's the line that the Spider-Men don't cross, and that's what he's trying to tell him, and they're able to communicate that. So Peter takes the suit off. It gets onto Harry, of all people. The Insomniac said it wasn't going to be Eddie Brock. It was pretty obvious it was going to be Harry.
Yeah, they would have introduced Eddie Brock way earlier on, like in the first game.
It makes sense not to use Eddie Brock because, and Insomniac, gave us their reasons for that, was that they wanted to, properly introduce Venom as a character that has some kind of emotional attachment to Peter. And Eddie, we have one reference to. If you look, I think at one of the backpacks, there's a card and Eddie Brock's name is on it. I'm pretty sure that's it.
Yeah.
And so he exists in the universe, but yeah, and Insomniac were straightforward about that from the beginning. He's not a Venom, and I'm glad that they didn't use a character that didn't have the background we needed. Now, we didn't see Harry in Spider-Man 1, but we did get a lot of insight into his relationship with Peter Parker. Well, technically, we did see him, and we did hear him, in fact. So it's a character that we had some getting used to, that we understood his personality. We understood more importantly, his connection with Peter. And so that's why it works. And the game also does a good job of really bringing that relationship in and showing that to the player as soon as they meet up.
Absolutely. Like, they really just popped Harry in at the beginning of the second game and gave us enough backstory and lore to make us not only fall in love with Harry, but feel emotional turmoil when we were bearing witness to the events of the story. Like, Insomniac, I think Insomniac and Santa Monica are the two best storytellers in video game creation.
Oh, absolutely.
And I stand by that statement. I think that Harry is a very, very strong and prominent character when he basically came out of left field. The only thing we heard from him in the first game was the very end when Norman puts his hand on the container and you see the symbiote.
Yeah.
And I really liked that because we knew from that cutscene that we were going to get Harry, and I think that was the moment that told us that Harry was going to be Venom. But we had to kind of like speculate and deduce and all that stuff. But it also just kind of set the bar for incredible storytelling. And Insomniac did not disappoint.
No, they didn't. Yeah, Harry and Peter's relationship at this game is actually fantastic. Their chemistry is genuine. Right from the moment that Harry's on set, you feel the bond between him, MJ, and Harry. And
absolutely. MJ scream when she walks out of the house and sees Harry for the first time.
And you just get a feeling for these characters which we heard about them being close, but now we get to see it. And then, Harry and Pete actually go to Midtown High School, and you get to play through a little bit of a flashback segment where we get to see a younger Peter, voiced still by Yuri Lowenthal, doing his best 15-year-old impression. Bless him.
baby Yuri.
And
I don't know, but that whole segment made me think of Baby Yoshi. I don't know why, but Baby Yoshi was in my head the entire time just because of Baby Yuri, and I don't know why. But continue. I'm sorry.
You're good. Yeah, so we get this segment and we get to kind of just see like the mischief that they got together. And I'm glad that Insomniac takes time to slow down and have you just pedaling along the bike alongside Harry, going to Coney Island with him and MJ and playing all of the games. I mean, did you play all the games and get the prize?
Every single one.
Me too.
Every single one, brother.
And it's so funny. Sometimes you have to sit back and be like, wait, I'm playing a Spider-Man game, but I'm piloting bee drones, or I'm playing as a deaf black girl graffitiing a wall, That
was a very, very interesting mission, but I didn't hate it.
I didn't hate it either. I was having fun still. I'm glad that they spend moments to kind of slow down and do some other things. And I think that's important because one of my compliments about this series is how well they balance the superhero identity and the alter ego identity. And we're still going off on tangents. I still haven't completed a full thought process here.
I think that's what we're supposed to be doing here, because I mean, it doesn't necessarily have to be a structured thing. Spider-Man 2 at this point is something that anybody who's really interested in it, they've already experienced it. So realistically, they're probably listening just to hear our opinions on the game. And you know what? That's okay with me, because my opinion is that it's one of the best games I've ever played. It's definitely one of the best stories I've ever experienced.
100%. I mean, I've gone on record saying that Insomniac Spider-Man is my favorite version of the hero, hands
Absolutely.
down, and that continues to be true. And I even appreciated Miles a hell of a lot more, who we haven't talked a whole lot about, and we will. I felt like Najee Jeter's performance significantly improved, actually, from the last game. And Yuri, like I said, I mean, just the whole like the symbiote thing, that whole story arc, everything that he goes through. God, that man deserved an award. I'm not saying that the guy from Baldur's Gate didn't. It's really 2023 is a tough year for gaming because there's been so many fucking good games this year.
Yeah, it was a very stiff competition.
For real.
The city's being torn apart. I don't know if I'm strong enough to save it.
Do I have what it takes to protect the people I love? You never gave up.
Never back down.
Neither will I. This is my power.
My responsibility.
I am Spider-Man.
But yeah, so Harry and Pete have this really well written relationship. We get to see this brotherly bond. Harry starts getting symbiote powers, and the suit starts actually mimicking Peter a little bit as he comes into contact. You can tell the suit's trying to get onto Peter because it sees his powers and it wants it.
Yep.
But they become Spider Bros for a little while. He'll even pop up in missions like Yuri or Miles do during that part of the game.
Fantastic addition to the game, by the way. Randomly being able to run into other Spider-Men when solving crimes and stuff like that. And if they pop up out of nowhere, you can perform finishers that you'll both be a part of. It's a really, really heartwarming experience.
It's awesome. And you can do the pointing.
Oh, yeah. Plus, like, the way that the characters and their, like, I guess NPC interactions, I guess that would be a good name for them. The way that they adapt with the evolution of the story, I love that. It's not just forced to be the same simply because it's a mechanic that Insomniac put into the game,
Right. No, it's this whole game is a quality experience. And I say that even with all the little bugs and glitches. Yes, I had to reload the game a couple times, but I'll tell you what, the game reloads so quickly I didn't really mind.
Yeah, we can talk about that fast travel if you want, dude, because that shit's ridiculous, bro.
And we should, but want to complete this thought I'm on. Anyway,
what did you call me?
So anyway, the suit comes off Peter. Harry, at this point, desperate and whose medical condition necessitates the use of the suit. And, they've been trying to find a way to get the suit off Peter. Peter finds out it's dangerous, and wants to destroy it after talking to Dr. Connors. And, Harry kind of, it's kind of like that. It's kind of like Morbius, I guess. It's actually the same thing in Morbius. I hate that I made that comparison, but
yeah, Morbius is ass. I need you to never say that again.
It's whenever Jared Leto comes to Matt Smith and he's like, "Nah, I can't give this to you because it's too dangerous." And he's like, "Wait, you don't care about me? Don't you want me to not die? Okay, I'm sorry." That's probably just a trope that both of them
honestly
used.
I thought that Insomniac kind of plugged something in there from Morbius, but hey, it's okay.
Anywho, needless to say, the suit does manage to get onto Harry, and now he's pissed. And I think a key aspect of Venom's character is that on both a civilian level and the superhero level, they have an issue with Spider-Man. They have an issue with both Spider-Man and Peter. I think that's integral to the Venom character. And in this case, it's extremely personal for Harry. So the symbiote just transforms him, and we see what it does to characters in this game. And then you get to play as Venom.
One of the craziest parts of the game.
You get to fucking play as Venom.
Yeah, dude. Like, honestly, I wish they had kind of given us a section to just free roam as Harry. It was so crazy. The fluidity of his movement. There was actually somebody online that found a glitch that you could like run up a skyscraper and play as Venom.
Yeah, I've seen it.
Free roam. It's pretty dope. And I wish they had given that to us,
Insomniac was kind of coy about it, but they said that they weren't opposed. Their ideas, it's a thing that could happen for us to get some sort of Venom spinoff. I don't know how it would work in the story because the Venom symbiote is gone, but I think some people mentioned that there's a piece of his tongue that was cut off by Kraven, and so they could go somewhere with that. I don't know. There's a hive mind, and there's still symbiotes around, so
I was about to say you still have Cletus Cassidy, where we will get some DLC off of that. And what was that whole sideline? The
Flame?
The cultists, the Flame, yeah. Dude, that was a cool little side storyline, and you finally get to see like Insomniac's version of Cletus Cassidy, which honestly, once they introduced Venom, I knew we were going to get some form of carnage in this game.
Right.
And Ash spoils it for me.
You made me thought that you had already gotten through that part of the game because you asked.
That is true. That is true. I did let Ash gaslight me into believing that I had already. I'm just kidding. Ash is out here just straight up gaslighting me.
That's right. That's what we do on Collateral Gaming. We
gaslight our boys.
Yeah.
You're crazy. You didn't do that.
This has always been a good podcast. It's always been perfect, and there's never been any issues.
Facts. Yeah. How dare you? You're crazy if you think otherwise.
Exactly. So, yeah, you get to play as Venom, and then Venom bites Kraven's fucking head off.
Yeah, that's to me, that's Insomniac's way of saying, hey, we're working on a Wolverine game. Check it out. This shit's going to be violent.
Well, and all the villains that they killed the Scorpion, which we saw. They killed Kraven in the same game they introduced him. As far as we know, the Venom symbiote itself is dead. They also killed off-screen the Shocker, the Electro, and Vulture. Although Vulture was already dying of cancer, so same as Kraven.
Honestly, I think that it's good that they killed off those villains just because they kind of outlived their usefulness in the first game. So if they had continued to try to bring them back on certain returning villain tropes, I don't think it would have worked as well. So I'm glad that they went that route too.
And me too, because especially with Miles moving forward being the primary Spider-Man of this universe, I think that's actually really important. And for him to have his own rogues gallery. And one thing I noticed...
Absolutely. Like the Spot!
Yes! The Spot. But one thing I noticed about Miles Morales' game was that it didn't rely on any of Peter Parker's existing villains from either from the last game or from his history. So that was a game that relied 100% on Miles' own, new antagonist forces. The Rhino was in it, I know.
Yeah, the Rhino. But they only gave us a small glimpse of that, and they did that solely because Rhino kind of kicks Pete's ass at the beginning of the game, and it was just kind of showing that Miles can be strong on his own.
Technically speaking, Miles has encountered Rhino before too, so it's not completely and when I say I don't mean that there's no Peter Parker villains, but what I mean to say is the focus was not on them. And I think in a game like that, you would want to at least have one character from the past to kind of support the new villains. But anyway, that was something I noticed. So moving forward, I'm glad to hear that we're basically eliminating the competition. I think moving forward, the Insomniac's going to focus. We'll bring some villains from the past or some villains maybe we've teased about. But for the most part, everything coming forward is going to be, I think, new or parts of the comics that may have not have been explored in media before. Get to experience some of Miles' own rogue gallery, and I'm excited to see that.
Which is good because it allows for Insomniac to continue building on future stories, because recycling gets old after a while, and we see a lot of companies do that. Activision, sorry, I got something stuck in my throat.
Mysterio seemingly goes straight in this game, so he's kind of cut off as a villain. They do tease the Chameleon. I think he's going to come back. They tease Carnage. I think, if anything, we'll probably see him in DLC for this game.
I hope so. I mean, it's taken them long enough to give us New Game Plus.
Obviously, they're setting up the Green Goblin.
Certainly hope so. It'd be fire.
And Otto is coming back, too, to be fair. I mean, some form or fashion.
I don't think we'll see Otto until the next mainline game with both Spiders, which I'm guessing Superior Spider-Man, which would be dope.
I'm calling it now. What they'll do is the focus will still be on Miles, but you'll still be able to play as Peter in the next one, but you'll play a significant part of the story as Otto Peter.
Otto Peter. Sounds like automatic penis.
Right?
Otto Peter.
Otto Peter.
Sounds very rapey. I'm sorry. It sounds incredibly rapey. Oh, Lord.
You're not wrong, and now I feel worse for saying it. Thanks.
Don't feel worse. Feel better. Feel like you've accomplished something, Ash.
Accomplishing things on Collateral Gaming.
Accomplishing things with your Otto Peter.
But yeah, with your Otto Peter. So we've talked about the story. We've talked about Kraven, about Venom, about Peter. We've talked about the Rogues Gallery. But I feel like we haven't mentioned a lot of gameplay on this episode.
Oh, we just got to save the best for last, because that's the best part of this whole fucking game is the gameplay.
Yeah. So, I mean, I know I said earlier that this game mostly is builds on the principles of the last game, and that's not actually a bad thing for a sequel. It's a good place for a sequel to be. You can work on well-established mechanics and do them even better, but what does Spider-Man 2 bring that's new to the table? I mean...
Oh, dude.
Yeah, go ahead.
You got, first and foremost, you've got switching between Miles and Peter at any given second. With the power of the PlayStation 5, the transition periods between like fast travels and switching between Spider-Man, it's faster than ever. And honestly, I'm kind of amazed at how smooth and seamless they were able to make it. You've got, you've got web wings, which allow you to glide around the city of New York, creating some of the most fast and agile movement in an action adventure game to date, which allows for simple traversal to just be the most fun aspect of a video game, which is awesome. I think that if you're going to spend a majority of a game just moving around the map, make it badass, make it fun, give the players challenges that make moving around the map more enjoyable. Like there's literally a trophy that I struggled with, but Ash didn't, about using your web wings nonstop.
Yeah.
And getting from, I think, the financial district to Astoria, but that's beside the point. The web wings create a feeling of freedom in traversal that is just previously unseen in other video games. And I think that adds a mechanic to a game where you just don't feel as free moving around in other video games. You also have, what is it? What else is new?
The web line.
Oh, yeah, the web line. You've got the web line. You've got the web launch, which is awesome.
Oh,
you can literally
the slingshot, yeah.
The slingshot web. You can literally catapult yourself, which kind of pays homage to the very first Sam Raimi Spider-Man movie when he launched himself
to
save MJ.
I remember that scene in particular. As soon as they showed off that mechanic, I was like, "Oh my god!" And you can do it in the Raimi suit or the Raimi black suit.
Oh yeah, dude. Obviously, the first time I did it in the Raimi suit. You can't do it in any other way, any other fashion.
I'm so happy to see that most of the suits from this game returned. I hope they add the remaining ones that were in the last two games that didn't make it to this one. I hope they add those back in a DLC patch. I know that they had to rework the suits from the ground up to include the web wings, and also, if you'll notice, this game was able to have basically any suit in most of the cutscenes. I think it only locks you into certain suits for the symbiote suit stuff and then for the end. But and Miles Morales did a good job with that too. But the first Spider-Man game kind of avoided having shots of Peter, with the mask off, unless he was in the Insomniac suit. But this game, he'll take off if you have like the Spider-Man Noir suit from Spider-Verse, it looks so weird because he's got like or any of the Spider-Verse suits for that matter. It's so weird because he's got the suit is all like animated looking, but like his face is normal, and like Peter will actually take off the hat instead of the mask. It's actually kind of cool.
Well, I haven't seen that, but I'm definitely gonna have to check that out when they add New Game Plus and stuff at the beginning of next year. I can't wait to go back through the game. I went through the game so fast that I feel as though like I wasn't ready to just do another playthrough immediately. And I've kind of missed it. I go back every now and then and just swing around New York, but I'm the type of player where if I don't have an objective, it gets very old very quickly. So, and having platinum to the game, it's just, I can't wait to get back to it.
I actually couldn't wait, and I actually did start playing through it again. But I'll go back through it again and do a Game Plus. It'll be really fun to be able to play that with the with the in-game powers and everything, because Miles and Peter both become powerhouses. I mean, Miles starts developing this like evolved Venom, which is the blue Venom that we saw in the trailers that we were wondering about. Is that some kind of different power or what? As we saw him using blue and yellow, and it is. It's an evolved version. I don't know if they fully explain it. Is it just because of emotion? It seems to happen whenever he thinks about Martin Lee in particular.
Sort of, yeah. His anger towards Martin Lee, which is kind of solved towards the end of the game, which is wonderful.
It's a
Kind of
fantastic
fuels-
character arc.
Absolutely. And honestly, I like how they redeemed Martin Lee without doing predictable, shitty tropes. Because usually video games fail to make it unique, but the way they did it with Martin Lee was very, very fantastic.
Yeah, and it was really good because seeing Miles have to confront the person that caused him grief, that took his father's life in the first game, and overcome that was incredible. And it gave Miles as compelling a story as Peter did in a game that I didn't expect for that to happen. I expected that for the focus to be on Peter. I knew it was a 2 Spider-Man game, but I still felt like, they're doing the symbiote stuff. But no, I mean, this game focuses on that just as much. I think Miles sees what happens to Peter when he lets his anger consume him, and that actually convinces him to let go. I mean, he had already been convinced before that, but I guess it's the other way around, I should say. He overcomes that with Lee, and he's able to teach Peter how something that Peter tried to teach him towards the beginning of the game. And it's where we see Miles come into his own, and where Peter can feel comfortable leaving him in charge. Is because he was able to overcome that emotional journey. Mind you, not only does Martin Lee get redeemed, but Martin Lee creates the anti-venom suit. Martin Lee and Miles dig into Peter's subconscious because there's a piece of the symbiote that's still inside of him. And they're not able to remove the symbiote's influence, but they're able to transform it into the anti-venom symbiote. So Harry is Venom in this universe. MJ is Scream, and Peter is anti-venom.
Yeah, to be honest, like I messaged you when it happened, but MJ is Scream. When they paid homage to like the old comics, I lost my mind because I thought that they weren't going to go that far into the lore. And what's funny is that Danielle is the one that pointed it out to me when it was happening. She's like, a rare appearance of Scream. And I took a look and I was like, no fucking way. So it was just, it's fun. And also getting to experience that game with, my wife watching, it was a lot of fun.
Hell yeah. Did you play did you play through that part where they're bickering at each other while they're fighting with her? Because that's really funny.
Oh, absolutely. She and I were talking about that too. Like,
That's
we
awesome.
thought it was funny. Like, that's a very traumatic experience for Peter, not only having to beat the shit out of his girlfriend, but also having to hear her very real problems coming to light because of the symbiote.
Right, and it's like the symbiote is influencing her, and it's causing her to see the world a little bit differently, but those thoughts are real. Those are her dark, intrusive thoughts. And that we all have. And I think it's an important lesson. It's good, too, because there's a moment where Peter scares the shit out of her, with the symbiote suit and stuff, and becomes a different person, becomes a dickhead, as he does when he puts on the black suit, right? And I think it's good that she actually had to go through that same experience so that she could forgive him for that. And they could have that experience together and grow as a couple. It's actually phenomenal storytelling as far as I mean, they did the one thing that sequels a lot of times try to hang on when they have an established couple from the previous entry, which is they usually try to break them up in order to create drama. This game didn't do that, and they respect it for that.
No, it made them both grow as adults and to solve their shit by actually communicating about it. And they did it in a way that's not repetitive or gross.
Exactly. And a lot of those grievances are issued out during that fight while you're fighting her, and it's a difficult battle.
Yeah. That shit is not easy, bro.
And Peter doesn't have the symbiote suit at that point. So this is when he's got the symbiote suit off, but before he gets the anti-venom suit. Mind you, Peter's spider arms, I think, are his equivalent of Miles's venom powers and seem to work well. But then Miles gets this like a evolved venom ability. Peter gets the symbiote suit, and I will say, while he's wearing the symbiote suit, it like at that part of the game, and like they're in the second act, he's a fucking powerhouse. He's just full of rage and he's just kicking ass and it's really, really, really good. But then he loses it, But then he gets the anti-venom suit, and the anti-venom suit is cool because somehow I guess it doesn't have the weakness to sound, and it actually is a weakness to symbiotes.
Yeah.
So it does give Peter one edge in late game, which is that he's more effective against the symbiote enemies because of the anti-venom abilities. And he gets 2 extra abilities that Miles doesn't have.
That is true. Plus, he's just fucking strong as hell.
And it's that fucking white suit. One of the things I'm happy that Insomniac confirmed they're introducing in the 2024 update, along with New Game Plus, is the ability to swap suit tendrils, at least post-game. Like, because I do feel silly. Like, I want to be able to put on like the classic black suit or the Raimi black suit, you know, and actually have the black tendrils come out. But you can only do that during the second act of the game. So being able to switch those in the post-game would be perfect.
You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. I mean, honestly, they could add. There's so much stuff that they could add, but they're going to have to do it one piece at a time. And I think the first thing they need to add, is the New Game Plus. It just needs to happen.
Yeah,
and I'm ready for it.
Me too, man. Oh God, there's so much more I feel like we could say about this, but I guess we should probably start wrapping things up here on Spider-Man 2. Would love to get into this game in some form or fashion later. Maybe when New Game Plus launches, we can try to do like a Let's Play or something.
There's one more thing I did want to hit before we hopped off the episode. What did you think about the intro to this game and how it kind of introduced how the characters are doing and where they are? Not to mention like the most badass introductory fight with the Sandman that they could have done.
Oh, yeah. You know, I did talk about this a little bit in part 1, but I definitely wanted to talk about it with you too, because that intro was phenomenal. I really loved the way that it opens up the game, where it shows things like the classic Parker luck. He's trying to land a job at Miles' school, Brooklyn Visions Academy, and you know, it's his first day on the job as a teacher. He's been doing substitute teaching, and you know, he suddenly there's a Sandman crisis, and Miles can't handle it by himself. I like when he comes out and he's like, I need help I need to go to the bathroom, right? When he sees something's up, and then he comes back and he's like, I need help.
And everybody in the class starts laughing.
Yeah. But he has to ditch class, and then there's an actual like citywide crisis, so the school is abandoned and Peter's nowhere to be there. And so it's just the Parker luck that he would be stuck protecting the city, losing his job, and getting blamed for abandoning the students.
Yeah, I'm not surprised that they fired him, honestly, but
not knowing the circumstances.
Yeah, it was rough.
But even so, I think that if they knew that he was Spider-Man, they wouldn't be able to allow him to be a teacher. I mean, you know, no teacher could be like, yeah, like in a moment of crisis, you have to go. Because to be fair, he was in a way protecting them, but they were left alone while he was dealing with that. And so it's like you can't trust somebody in a teacher role, you know, to be Spider-Man and have to deal with the main event.
Yeah.
So it probably wasn't a good fit, which sucks because I really wanted to see more of Peter as a teacher, but they kind of ditched that right away, and he just jumps into being a scientist and ends with as a scientist.
Yeah, I'm glad that they kind of gave you a little taste of Teacher Pete though. Like it was cool. I knew he was going to get fired though. The second he left that class, I was like, yeah, he's getting fired. There's no way he's not getting fired.
That scene of them like switching into the suits and jumping off the building with that song is so good.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And also just the fight with Sandman is, even though it's incredibly cinematic, it's fantastic. And my favorite part of the whole thing is Miles getting just flung across New York.
Yes. It is an excellent way to open the game with this massive boss battle. We get to fight with the Sandman, who we do get a little bit more. We actually get backstory on the Sandman, and we get in his side quest chain, which is cool. You know, there's the little sand crystals everywhere, and you piece together an actual sympathetic story. Mysterio has another side quest mission that's similar. That, you know, again, I think Mysterio's actually gone straight.
Yeah, and I mean, there are a couple of the Mysteriums that make you feel like he hasn't, but they do a really good job of telling that piece by piece as well. I really like how like the malfunction in the system kind of creates a more evil persona for Quentin Beck. And I thought that he was a little weird in this game, but I was just happy that he was there.
And they do a classic Mysterio bait and switch, but instead of it being him doing it, it's his assistants or whatever they are that managed to frame him, which is interesting. Like Mysterio got Mysterio'd.
I mean, honestly, I expected it, but it was still fun to play with and see that development as it continued. But the Mysteriums were honestly my least favorite part of the game. I did get the maximum reward on all of them. I had to sweat my nuts off to get it, but I did get it.
I actually didn't. I haven't done that yet. And I have beat all the Taskmaster challenges in the first game, and I've gotten a gold on them. I can do those like easy now, the drone challenges included. But you know what? I never did get gold on all the screwball challenges.
The screwball challenges are tough, bro.
I don't think I got all gold in all the hollow challenges in Miles Morales either. I think I got gold in most of them.
Those challenges are tough, bro. I don't blame you, honestly.
Yeah, they are.
Like shit's rough, bro.
But Mysterium, I feel like I could do it. I don't feel like, in some ways, I feel like this game is a little bit easier than last game, but because of how many more abilities that you have. But in some ways, I do feel it was harder in some areas.
I believe it was harder in overall combat, but it was easier in like the depths of the challenges. Like the hardest thing to me in the game was like doing the Mysteriums and like not getting hit, or doing like a certain amount of finishers in a specific amount of time. Like you had to do like 6 finishers.
Oh yeah,
in like a minute and a half.
Yeah,
those were tough.
That's where you have to kind of like build around your abilities, actually. Like for the evolved Venom, at that point in the game, if you have all the evolved Venom abilities, or most of them, you might be inclined to use them. But for that challenge, it's better to stick with the regular Venom, because the regular Venom is better at applying stun rather than killing enemies. So you can actually pull the finishers off while you're building them up. And also because there's an ability that allows you to get an instant finisher on enemies hit with regular Venom stun. So
plus, if you're in those Mysteriums and you hit them with a Mega Venom Blast, you have maximum and if you have maximum focus bars, you automatically get 3 finishers that you can just use back to back to back. So it's not bad.
Yeah, that challenge probably would have been easier if I approached it like in game or post game, because I think there's at least a couple of them actually that require you to pull off the finishers. But yeah, I think the Mega Venom Blast recharge ability would be super helpful for that one. It's like you said, that just breaks combat.
100%, dude.
Symbiote Surge is powerful and it recharges your abilities more quickly, but it doesn't recharge his focus bars. And that's like I remember like my post-game setup in Spider-Man 1 was one that focused on building focus and like pulling off those double finishers.
Yeah.
But there wasn't anything like that in Miles Morales, and Peter doesn't really have any kind of build like that in this game. In fact, there's less of a build aspect to it. There's a couple options you might toggle back and forth in the suit tech. And then there's some skills you unlock, and then you might swap out some abilities for different situations or different Spider-Man, but that's it, really. There really isn't as much of a build that the last couple of games had, and that's not even a bad thing necessarily. It's just
different.
It's a different type of strategy.
Yeah.
Yeah. If anything, there's more strategy involved, because like I said, you can decide some missions, are available to both Spider-Man, but you might have an easier time with Miles because of his camouflage ability. So he'll be better at some of the stealth challenges. And I mean, mind you, the combat challenges, if we're being real too. But, or, the Sandman ones, his Venom is more effective. But the symbiote stuff, Peter's going to be a better fit for with the anti-Venom abilities.
Absolutely.
Also, I keep on having to extend this because that final Venom fight, bro. How do we not talk about the final boss fight?
I mean, I think all the boss fights in this game were incredible. I think they did a really good job of bringing back that classic boss fight feel And honestly, I think a lot of that had to do with the fact that they simply just included the health bars. But to be honest, I think it was just very well done altogether. And this game is a spectacle for just beautiful work.
Venom with wings and shit. Both Spider-Man coming at him in the air, and God, it was a tough but fucking unbelievably fun boss fight. One more thing.
How many rounds was it? Like 4 or 5 rounds?
Something like that. Because Peter fights him, and then Miles fights him for Peter fights him for a couple rounds, I think, and then Miles fights him for a couple rounds, and yeah, it's. Well, I think after that it's all cinematic. But
you go toe to toe with him, that's for sure, and it's a great time.
And both Spider-Man have a moment. What did you think about? I have to ask you, what did you think about the evolved suit? But,
you mean Miles' suit? It's ass, bro. It's the worst fucking costume I've ever seen in my life.
Okay, so I don't hate it, actually.
Dude, it's awful. It's the worst.
I hate that it's a sponsored thing, and the Spider-Man explicitly stated this game that they're against that. But it's just an Adidas sponsor thing. But the suit itself, I mean, I don't hate. And I think there's one of the styles of it, one of the colorations, actually looks pretty dope. The one that's just kind of black and red.
I just don't like the fact that like you can see his hair. Like anybody who knows Miles knows that that's going to be him.
Oh, come on. Half of Harlem knows that Miles is Spider-Man.
I mean, you're not wrong. You're not wrong at all. But it's just, somebody who knows Miles but doesn't know that he's Spider-Man might pick up on it, and the wrong people might find out. But I'm just being touchy.
No, I know. It's his hair sticking out. It's kind of goofy, and that's not even the only.
Such a dumb fucking look, dude.
It's not even the only suit that does that. Actually, one of the original suits for this game also does that. I'm sure that they'll be changing it up and having him in a different suit. I think it's interesting that Peter keeps the anti-venom suit post game.
I mean, why not? It doesn't affect his mind, and he's powerful as fuck. Why wouldn't he keep it?
Right. That'll be interesting if that makes it well, it has to. I mean, if it in some form or fashion Peter's going to be back. I just it'll be a mostly Miles centered experience, and I guess we might have a Silk in there.
My guess is that the next game they're going to kill off Peter. I thought they were going to do it in this game, and technically they did, but I think that he is kind of ready to retire. He's going to step back in, and they're going to kill him. So I hope not. That would be really sad, but it would also make sense,
I think that what they need to do with the next game is that they need to bring in more superheroes, because they're doing the Wolverine game, so like set that up, and then bring other superheroes. That's the only way to top this. You have one Spider-Man, and then you have 2 Spider-Men. What are you going to do for the third game? Well,
bring in the Avengers.
They don't have to be like fully playable in free roam or whatever, because it is a Spider-Man focused experience, not a crossover game. But it would be cool to have Wolverine come in, have Daredevil come in. I mean, there was I noticed the Nelson and Murdoch sign was removed in this game, and at first the developers were like, Insomniac was kind of coy about it. I think it was Bryan Intihar or someone was just acted kind of coy about it, like that was intentional. But then they added the Nelson and Murdoch plaque back. So
yeah, because it was like a little detail that shouldn't have been missed.
Well, but they acted like it was intentional. Like there was a story, like reason why that was the case. But I guess it wasn't. I don't know.
I have no idea. But you know what? I guess hopefully Insomniac makes a Daredevil game too, because that would be fire.
Also, the
you
whole,
have Charlie Cox, the voice.
Also, the fact that they used the Cuban flag instead of the Puerto Rican one. That was a misstep. Also, I've heard that the Spanish dub is atrocious and is like not actual real Spanish. So.
Wait, really? Now I gotta go play the Spanish version, bro.
I've heard that it's like, and yeah, this is from the same crowd that are calling the game woke, but they're not wrong about this. And I think even people that are quote unquote woke, more progressive people like myself, are kind of like, this is kind of, I don't even think, I think this is actually kind of, this is nothing, nobody's asking for this basically. And it's like, but it's having like not like gender neutral forms of words in the Spanish language, which just isn't a thing.
Yeah.
And it's just like you can't invent a new language. Like I don't even blame Insomniac for that. That was probably something that was pushed on the corporate level by Sony, and it's atrocious. Don't do that.
I mean, this Sony pushing atrocities.
But I don't think the game is woke. I don't mind that you get to play as a deaf black girl and spray paint graffiti. That's cool as fuck. I'm down for it.
Oh, I think that part is dope. I think they make her a prominent enough character to where you should at least get a little bit of screen time with her. I mean, come on.
And her and Miles are adorable. Let's be real.
Yeah. I mean, like, she is his love interest. Like, why not give her a little bit of time? Why not let us experience New York through her eyes a little bit, or through her lack of ears? Sorry.
Deaf people, if you're listening to this, oh wait,
stop. Oh Lord. Ash, have you ever seen Stevie Wonder's wife?
No.
He hasn't either. I'm sorry, that's all.
I'm sorry. Okay. Yeah, no, this game is fucking great, and or the fact that one of the side quest missions involves you bringing letting a boy from the high school ask his boyfriend out to the homecoming or prom.
Yeah.
Or was it homecoming? I don't remember. That side quest was just boring for other reasons, not the fact that
side quest was boring because it didn't have any action. You're just literally helping a dude fuck another dude. That's it. That's all you're doing.
Yeah. The Miles Brooklyn Visions missions in general were kind of annoying because, like, I know I said earlier that like I appreciate the game like kind of slows down. I mean, there's this other side quest where Peter just rides a bike, but you're playing as Peter. Why have a mission where you're playing as Miles, as Spider-Man, just doing like fetch quests and taking pictures? I don't know. It wasn't as fun, but I didn't hate it. It took like a few minutes of my time. I moved on from it, you know.
He said, but I didn't hate it. It was just the fucking worst.
There's not, you know, there are a lot of things that like a lot of criticisms I could make of the game, and I think that's why it didn't make Game of the Year. But overall, I still have this picture of the game as like this high quality experience. And I guess we'll finally get into our final thoughts here, right? Because I feel like this game, despite, you know, the occasional gripe or hiccup, the rest of it is done so damn well that you don't mind. It's just a phenomenal experience. And the fact that it's short is actually works to its advantage. It's a short but high quality experience throughout. And
absolutely.
And, you know, and I honestly fell in love with this game every bit as much, if not more, than I did the previous two games.
I think that this game took the beautiful aspects of the first game and just excelled upon and just advanced them in the best ways possible. Sure, we got a couple of little boring side quests and missions, but I mean, that's to be expected when you're working with a superhero game. There's got to be some boring, wholesome bullshit in there.
I mean, the first game had it too, and they actually made the MJ missions better in this one.
Oh, dude, the MJ, there's like, what, 2 in this game, and they both slap so hard?
I think there's 3 total, because there's the first one in Craven's compound, and then there's the second one whenever Peter's is the symbiote taking him for a ride.
It's called Wake Up.
Wake Up, yeah. And then there's the final one where it turns into pretty much a third-person shooter as you're firing sonic blasts at the symbiotes. You know what?
Yeah.
I was having fun with it.
that was I mean, all of the MJ missions were improved, like just incredibly so. It was just a great time. But I just think that every aspect of this game, from gameplay to traversal to combat to story, everything is an improvement over the previous game. 2018 stood out simply because it was just a different way to experience Spider-Man. And Sony it was a masterclass in video game design. It truly was. It took everybody for an absolute ride. And that was before the power of the PlayStation 5, giving us a, 4K 60 FPS or 120 FPS experience. Like, Sony did the impossible and Insomniac did the impossible and made the perfect Spider-Man game. And this game just improves upon it. You know, of course there were some bugs at launch, but what game doesn't have bugs at launch aside from God of War because it's just sheer perfection?
God of War had bugs. They're just
Yeah, I know. I'm just a God of War simp.
not that many though.
Dude,
Very, very few.
Also, if you're listening to this and you've played Ragnarok, you need to go fucking play the Valhalla DLC. It is incredible.
God, I can't wait to get into it. I need to
So good.
upgrade to the PS5 version of God of War, and then I'll reinstall it. And then I'm probably going to do that tomorrow when I get paid.
Honestly, Ash, if you're going to upgrade to the PS5 version of Ragnarok, I would just suggest going through the game again because it's a completely different experience. It's a whole new ride.
At the very least, I want to complete 100%. Yeah, and probably start a new playthrough and just kind of get a feel for some of it again.
I was about to say, just do 100%, but start from the beginning on the PS5 version. Do that because you'll enjoy it, bro. It's so good. Like it's a ride.
When I get time, man, it's gonna be wild. We do have a lot.
Oregano.
We have a lot coming up. This episode in and of itself is about a month late, but whatever. We're here. We got it done. Hopefully next week, I'm planning to go ahead and have out our episode on Oracle of Ages, which is beginning of our Zelda Month content. I am most of the way through the game now. I think I have 6 essences. And
really? You haven't told me that. That's awesome.
Yeah. I'll beat it within the next couple days or so, probably. It's not a very long game, and then start moving on to seasons. So we'll have Oracle of Ages, God willing, out next week.
Dude, we can record that like early next week. I've beaten that game probably 40, 50 times. That's the first video game I ever played, bro. Oracle of Ages. It's crazy.
I think Megan's going to be on too, so which will be good. I don't think we've had her on this season yet, so. And then Oracle of Seasons by the end of this month. Our holiday special. Your recommendation was the Grinch video game, so we'll be talking about that. I guess I'll be setting up to emulate that soon.
Absolutely, brother.
And yeah, guys, it's going to be a hell of a time. We hope everybody has happy holidays. Obviously, we'll see you more before then, but it's December, guys. It's the month. I'm going back home to Lake Hills. Going to spend some more time with my daughter, and San Antonio. Spend some time with my friends. It's going to be a great time. I'm there from now. I'm literally going on the bus tomorrow in the early morning, and I'll be there until the end of December, until New Year's. So it's going to be a great time. We'll get to record some stuff with Bo and Robert in person for Collateral Cinema. And I hope everyone's enjoying their December. Zach, I know it's going to be fantastic being able to spend your first holiday as a married couple.
Absolutely, dude. She and I are going to her parents' house, and I could not be more excited, bro. I am so pumped to spend Christmas with my new family. And of course, I love my parents very much, and I'm going to miss them very much. But this is a new experience, I get to spend a holiday with my wife. And Ash, also, I'm just really thankful that you got to be a part of our big day. And we got all our pictures back, too, so I'll bombard you with those later.
Hell yeah, man.
But yeah, dude, we're super excited to spend the holiday season together. I get to experience all of the joy and laughter of their Christmas. And I get to hang out with 2 doggies that stress each other out. Can't wait. And it's just going to be a wonderful time. And I hope everybody we'll talk to you guys again before, Christmas. But if for some reason you don't listen to Oracle of Ages, have a Merry Christmas and a wonderful New Year. And fuck all of you. I'm just kidding.
Fucking A, brother. Yeah, I guess that's really all there is to say. Fuck all of you.
No, we love all of you guys, but I'm out. Peace. I'm just kidding.
Well, this has been Collateral Gaming, Spider-Man 2, Part 2.
Flag.
We will see you later. I've been Ashley Chancellor.
I've been, and will always be, Zachary Dio.
I already said we're Collateral Gaming. I really didn't plan out this outro. Yeah, whatever. Fuck you guys.
Collateral Gaming is a Collateral Media podcast. All music and game clips are owned by their respective creators and are used for educational purposes only. Please don't sue us. We're poor.